So yeah, good morning, everyone. So let me know if if you're unable to see my screen. I believe I'm sharing my, yes, I don't think I've shared my screen. Just give me a second here. So yeah, I think I'm sharing my screen now. Okay, great. Yeah. So yeah, good morning, everyone. So today we are going to spend the next 30 minutes or so discussing about how we leverage artificial intelligence to improve cybersecurity, right? So we kind of like just talk about the potentials as well as capabilities, the use cases, and then a little bit about the um, challenges that we face, right, for the with regards to using AI in cybersecurity. Before we jump into the agenda, a brief introduction about myself. So I'm Parul Khanna. I'm based here in Toronto, Canada, and unfortunately, due to multiple conflicts, I couldn't attend the conference in person. So hence, I'm doing it virtually. So thanks to the organizers for making that happen. I work in risk management and I work as a director of information security at a financial firm here in Toronto. And previously, I've worked in data loss prevention, cybersecurity operations center, cloud security. So yeah, like kind of like different domains as well. I also am a passionate instructor. So I'm doing cybersecurity courses. I teach on a part-time basis at a university based here in Toronto as well. I had the opportunity to publish a paper on doxing, which is essentially kind of like a social engineering at a conference, which was based in Montreal. And then I do have my master's degree from a Canadian university, plus in addition to different credentials as well. I like to volunteer for the Women in Cybersecurity Voices community as well. And then I'm also a passionate speaker at different industry conferences. So moving on to the agenda for today. Um, moving on to the agenda for today. So we'll be discussing briefly about, I'll kickstart the discussion with how artificial intelligence is changing the cybersecurity landscape, right? And then we kind of like discuss mostly the advantages, the positives for it. And then we'll deep dive into the use cases for the artificial intelligence with respect to cybersecurity. Again, given the time constraint as well as the time limit, it's not possible to cover all the use cases, but I tried to capture the essentials or the hot topic ones. And then in the end, I would just spend a few more minutes on what could go wrong, which is more like the challenges associated, right? Like the hardships or the obstacles encountered, right? So before I deep dive into like how artificial intelligence is changing the cybersecurity landscape, I just want to quickly reflect on like what is exactly artificial intelligence, right? So if we look at it, it's basically something which removes the human intervention element to it, right? It kind of like automates the task. It makes complex things simple. So it's like a broad term which refers to the different tools that are trained to perform a wide range of complex tasks, right? Like that may previously require the intervention of the human. So it's the like same, if we talk about it like in realistic examples, it's the same technology that probably allows your Netflix to recommend your movies, right? And like helps remove spam, or if you're booking a flight to a common place, it helps you recommend like the hotels and the places of destination, so the common tourist places, right? So it helps power everything from your autocorrect features and Google Translate to your facial recognition services, right? So everything like has the component of like as as the technology evolves, as the emerging trends evolve, everything essentially has a component to it for the artificial intelligence, right? So how artificial intelligence is changing the cybersecurity landscapes, right? So we do have improved accuracy, right? So when we talk about improved accuracy in terms of the algorithms that are used by artificial intelligence, since the human intervention is removed, these algorithms, yes, they kind of like provide accurate as well as consistent results, right? And they're kind of like able to analyze large chunks of data without any error or without any ambiguity. So this is one of the things that yes, we do have improved accuracy as a result of artificial intelligence. Efficiency. So yes, definitely. Artificial intelligence, it plays a crucial role in tasks such as your vulnerability scanning as well as your patch management, right? Artificial intelligence, it can automatically scan your systems and your networks for vulnerabilities that can identify the potential weaknesses, right? And it can also like even just prioritize them. And then it can recommend the patches or the security updates. So definitely helps in just streamlining the patch management process, right? And somewhere, if we think about it, it also kind of like indirectly helps to make your incident response process more efficient, right? For example, when a security incident occurs, the artificial intelligence algorithms, they can help assess the severity as well as the impact of the incident by analyzing the relevant data, right? So they can provide you like real-time alerts, real-time notifications about the incident alerts, as well as like recommendations, right? So this thing enables your security teams, your CSIRT or your incident response teams to enable more, to respond like more promptly as well as efficiently, right? Real-time threat detection as well as response. So definitely like by processing the data from different sources like rapidly, quickly, accurately, as well as consistently, AI, it can identify your suspicious patterns, your anomalies, as well as the indicators of compromise quickly, right? So that may signify an ongoing or imminent like cyber attack. So which essentially, if we look at the holistically, it helps your cyber teams, your incident response teams to respond to those in a more efficient manner, right? And as like the new techniques of attacks evolve, as there's like this more sophisticated techniques involved, so the AI algorithms, they can, dynamically adjust their detection models, ensuring that they stay up to date with the evolving threat landscapes, right? So it's basically this ability of the I would say, yeah, there's like kind of like adaptability of your artificial intelligence to identify the emerging and the previously unseen threats in real time, provides organizations with the more kind of like proactive defense capabilities. Reducing the costs, yeah, definitely. Whenever there is less of human interventions and we move towards automation, especially with respect to like artificial intelligence, yes, it's a big cost saver, right? So your activities such as your log analysis, your routine vulnerability assessments, your patch managements, right? So all these activities kind of like gets automated, reduces the human intervention, and it kind of like helps saves the resource cost, right? Like the cost associated. So artificial intelligence ability to improve the accuracy of threat detection, it also contributes to uh, to your like as we discussed it earlier, like your incident response team responding more efficiently, right? Traditional security approaches, they often generate like false positives and they miss certain types of threat due to limitations in detection mechanisms, and which can lead to like wasted time, resource investigating the false positives. So all this noise, it can be cut off using like artificial intelligence, depending upon how you configure the systems, how you set up your rules, right? Improve scalability. Yes, AI algorithms, they are definitely designed to process and analyze the vast data sets, including your like logs, your network logs, your system logs, your user behavior, your user activities, your threat intel feeds, right? Like all from these like different sources. So AI algorithms, they can identify the patterns, anomalies, as well as the indicators of cyber threats. And within these kind of like extensive data, right? Extensive data sets, right? So the ability of AI to actually like scale effectively, it's particularly valuable in your dynamic and rapidly evolving cybersecurity landscapes, right? Like that's the kind of like a beauty of it. So as the volume and the complexity of the data, they continue to grow. So traditional approaches obviously find it hard to keep up to pace, right? And that's where we have automation, artificial intelligence, removing the friction and making things more simpler, right? So yeah. Okay, so if we move to, so I've captured here some other different like statistics again, just to be a kind of like an eye opener as to where the world of where we are heading towards, like in terms of the trends as well as artificial intelligence statistics. So yeah, 35% of the companies, they have started like relying on artificial intelligence, and then 97% of mobile users are actually using the artificial intelligence powered voice assistants, right? So which is like just the roboted, like the human automated voice, which we kind of like hear in most of the customer service centers, making the long wait times, reducing the long queue times, and making it and making the processes or this or the resolution of the tasks, the resolution of the problems more efficient. 91.5% of leading businesses invest in artificial intelligence on ongoing basis. Yeah, that's like a good number, and that's a very positive trend. And then 44% of private sector companies, they plan to invest in artificial intelligence systems in 2023. So just kind of like an eye opener in terms of where we are heading with respect to the artificial intelligence statistics. So if we talk about the use cases for artificial intelligence, again, I've tried to capture as many as can. So with respect to like cybersecurity, I'll be talking about the 5, which I have captured on the left side of the screen. That is the malware detection, phishing detection, security log analysis, network security, as well as endpoint security, right? Like more or less, yes, organizations are relying on artificial intelligence to adhere to like these use cases to fulfill the requirements. But there's also like outside of cybersecurity, if we talk about the use cases, there's like so much of it, like marketing team uses it, right? Like real-time operations management uses it. There is customer insights to it. There is like huge amount of data analytics that is performed, and that kind of like feeds into your research as well as development. There is like fraud detections, I mean, in terms of like logs analyzing and from uh, analyzing the anomalies or the deviations. So that is where like human resources uses this, right? So it's just not like cybersecurity, it's just outside as well that artificial intelligence has been like relied upon heavily to, like solve some of the real world problems, right? So if we, sorry, if we talk about the malware detection, so yes, like malware, definitely it's a significant threat to your cybersecurity, right? So if we talk about the traditional approach to malware detection, it relies heavily on your signature-based detection to identify the malware variants, right? So the AI-based solutions, that's where they come into picture. They use machine learning algorithms to detect and respond to both known as well as unknown malware threats, right? They can analyze your large amounts of data, identify the patterns, anomalies rapidly, quickly, consistently, and they can also stay up to date, right? So that's where I think it beats the traditional approach to malware detection, which was actually just relied on like your signature-based detection. So there's like two kinds of it. Again, not going to a deep dive into both, but there is kind of like static analysis, and then there is kind of like dynamic analysis. So static analysis, it involves the analyzing the like more of like characteristics of a file, such as its size, structure, code, to identify patterns as well as anomalies. Whereas your dynamic analysis involves analyzing the behavior of a file when it's executed to identify patterns as well as anomalies. Moving on to your phishing detection. So uh, again, I'll just compare it like with the like what was the traditional, and then how is AI going to like benefit this. So the traditional approach was definitely like it relied on rule-based filtering or like blacklisting to identify and block down phishing emails, right? Now in these approaches, if we think about it holistically, they have limitations because they are only effective against known attacks, and that may miss new or the evolving attacks, right? Because cybersecurity landscape is evolving. There is emerging technologies. There's like more sophisticated techniques each and every day. So AI-based phishing detection solutions, they use machine learning algorithms to analyze the content and structure of the emails to identify the potential phishing attacks, right? And these algorithms, they can just learn from like vast amounts of data to detect the patterns and anomalies that indicate a phishing attack, right? And they can also be used to kind of like just analyze the behavior of users when interacting with emails to identify potential phishing attacks. For example, if a user clicks on like suspicious link or enters personal information in response to a phishing email, your AI-based solution can flag the activity and then as well as alert the appropriate security team, right? So security log analysis, we kind of like covered it. So yes, your artificial intelligence can definitely analyze your large volumes of security logs, which have been like from, either from your SIEM, from your network security logs, your user behavior logs, your events, incidents, alerts, as well as like your threat intel feeds, right? The AI algorithms, they detect anomalous behavior that may indicate your like insider threats, such as unauthorized access or unusual data transfers. And then organizations, they can take action to prevent the data breaches as well as other security incidents before they actually occur. Network security, yes, definitely. In terms of like anomaly detections, AI can come handy. So by analyzing historical traffic data, AI algorithms can learn like what is normal for a particular network and identify the traffic that is anomalous or suspicious, right? So this can usually include your unusual protocol usage, unusual like your port usage, right? Like if the default ports have been set to open, if there are services which are actually not required and kind of like enabled, or traffic from including like your malicious or any like suspicious IP addresses, right? So AI can definitely improve your network security by monitoring devices on the network. They can be trained to detect devices that are not authorized to be on the network, and then can alert the security teams and like for the potential threats, right? So, and then all this like rapid identification of the threats and alerting, they kind of like tied back to the incident response teams, which help them to respond more quickly as well as more efficiently, right? Endpoint security, somewhere it goes hand in hand with what all the points that we discussed above. Like AI-based endpoint security solutions, they can use obviously machine learning algorithms to analyze the endpoint behavior and detect the potential threats. For example, they can scan the files for your malware, and then they can take action on that particular file. Like maybe they quarantine that particular file, right? And it can also detect it can also monitor as well as detect like any endpoint activity or any unusual behavior that may indicate a security threat, right? And they can also take action like in terms of like block unauthorized access attempts and then prevent the attackers from gaining access to your sensitive data. So if we look at it holistically, like the traditional if we compare it holistically with like your traditional approaches, I think that one key advantage of your AI-based endpoint security solutions, it is the ability to adapt and evolve over time, right? So as your like cyber threats evolve and become more sophisticated, AI algorithms definitely can learn from the new data and identify new patterns that indicate potential threats, right? So imagine like it's like staying kind of like up to date with the attacker's mindset, with the evolving techniques, with the different sophisticated attack techniques that are evolving rapidly as well as quickly, right? So AI-based endpoint security solutions, they can provide better protection against new and unknown threats rather than your traditional softwares or your traditional methods, right? Your traditional algorithms. So this is like, yeah, some of the use cases for the artificial intelligence, but again, not a holistic one, because it's like outside of cybersecurity as well. AI, it's definitely has proved to be benefits, right? So now if we take a look at the challenges associated, right? Like any of the technology, whenever there is any advancement in any technology, there is like a boon and a bane part to it. Like it's like more like a pros and cons to it, right? So similarly, AI can be also put to like malicious use. And this is with respect to, I'm talking from the attacker's mindset or the attacker's perspective, right? So bias. So when I talk about like bias, it basically, if I was to summarize, it basically refers to the more like a systematic and unfair favoritism or discriminations like in the outcomes which is produced by an algorithms. And when I say that broadly, it's meaning like it can result in either your like false positives or your false negatives, right? Like leading to flawed decisions, missed threats, or unjust actions. Like for example, if we talk about using artificial intelligence in healthcare systems, right? Like as a patient who probably needs like a pacemaker, right? Can we rely on the use of artificial intelligence? Like if this was to analyze the patient's data and give a yea or a nay call, the answer is no. Because why? It's kind of like a life and a death situations, right? So we do have to have human interventions, the thinking from respects of a human to see what's justifiable. So in cases like in sensitive cases where it could jeopardize the nations or the life of a human, yes, definitely. I think in terms of relying on artificial intelligence, it's more kind of like seen as a bias or more like an unfavorite thing to do, right? So we definitely need to have human intervention there. Malicious use, yes, definitely with the AI. So all the use cases that we discussed previously, if we talk about it, AI can be definitely like used to launch, for example, like enhanced phishing attacks, right? Artificial intelligence that can generate the content, sorry, that closely mimics your legitimate communications, making it harder for the users to discern between the genuine as well as your fraudulent messages by employing natural language processing and machine learning algorithms, right? So this is one thing. Then your advanced evasion techniques, it can enable the cyber criminals to circumvent your traditional security defenses and remain undetected. They can develop like malware that dynamically modifies the user behavior to evade AI-based detection systems. Automated attack tools, they can automate the process of reconnaissance, vulnerability scanning, and even like exploit selection. So adversaries can effectively identify the vulnerabilities, launch targeted attacks, and exploit weaknesses in security systems by using AI-driven attack tools. So deepfake attacks, so this is like a deepfake technology, which is essentially powered by AI, allows the creation of highly realistic synthetic media, such as your images, audio, as well as tools. And then this can be exploited by the threat actors to deceive individuals or like manipulate the informations, right? Like they are the deepfake attacks they used to fabricate compromising or misleading content, impersonate high profile individuals, or like spread information leading to reputational damage, financial loss, or yeah, like even like, you know, uh, business loss or society upheaval kind of thing as well. So in nutshell, if we were to talk about this, yeah, like both the like AI, I mean, it's kind of like there is power, there is like obviously advantages to fusing artificial intelligence within cybersecurity. But at the same time, there is more like, yeah, we have to be careful because the same advantages, the same techniques, the same algorithms can also be used to launch counterattacks, right? Like to evolve more sophisticated attack techniques, like for example, like phishing, right? For example, to bypass any of the security mechanisms, any of the defense in depth mechanisms that you have. So I think a balance still has to be made, and we do have, based on the statistics so far, like we do have some companies which rely on artificial intelligence, but there I think it's still a long way to go. But yes, depending upon like how this particular thing enhances, and like ChatGPT is kind of like a good example, how this thing enhances, we should be mindful of the uses of artificial intelligence, especially when it comes to strengthening our risk posture, strengthening the security posture, and using it or probably like optimizing it for our own benefits. So with this, I will end this presentations and I'm open to taking any questions, which is, yeah, in the chat or. Let me just quickly see if there's like any questions. I know that there was kind of like one question. It came in the other platform. So I'll just read the question and then probably give my inputs to it. What are your thoughts on the issue of AI propagating institutional norms that won't consider diversity sufficiently and may even at times border on the prejudice or incorrect given the data input collection? Yeah, that's a good question. And thank you, Chris, for that question. So if I was to summarize it, so essentially the use of the AI, the extent of the use of the AI, it's kind of like driven by the security requirements, right? Like a company's business requirements, what does it need, and how the use of AI can help expedite, can help solve, or can help reduce the cost, right? Like essentially the advantages that we talked about it. So give or take, I would say, like if it's maybe like it's a small scale company, right, it need not invest in the AI tools because yeah, those are like costly too. So it could use like could save that and have human intervention. Same goes with your like where AI cannot be used as a sole decision maker. For example, your healthcare hospitals, right, your patients where it deals with patients medical sensitive data, we need to have the human intervention there. But when it comes to like having your logs, like security monitoring aspect, like your logging, monitoring, analyzing those logs and deriving like big data analytics and all those kind of things, which takes like huge amount of human effort. So I would say there, definitely we can have the artificial intelligence step in to automate these tasks, reduce the cost, increase the efficiency, as well as improve the scalability, right? Thank you. Yeah, it's a good question.